Another male.
Yeah, the Sheriff Bouchard is on, so that's good.
I'll
So
have
we'll
some.
give it a couple minutes to let a couple more people sign on and admit them here, and then we'll get going. I just heard from Joe. He is doing an interview this morning. He has a sound check at 10 a.m. So you guys are stuck with me running the show. So
Darn.
You can do it.
yeah. Sorry.
We have full faith in you, Kelly.
Thank you, Ingrid. It's good to see you this morning. I hope things are going well with you. I saw the picture of your boys. Your
Yeah,
school photo on
it's
Instagram.
good. Yeah, it's going pretty well considering. It's a little crazy with 6 people all on the internet at once.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I think all of our my kids' class meetings and my webinars and things have all been overlapping. It's like, can we just do like staggered times, please?
Yeah, exactly. Kindergarten is kind of the most interesting one to see this play out online. So, but it's actually going pretty well, surprisingly well so far.
Good.
My nephew just started kindergarten remotely as well, Ingrid. And my sister was sending us videos of their PE class, and they had this like dance video, and they were all doing like a dance party through Zoom, and it was hilarious. So
Yeah, they do these what they call brain breaks, and they dance around. It's cute. Yeah, it's actually funny.
I'm just wondering if liquor sales are going to be going up in about a month.
Oh, definitely. My household already have.
Yep. My sister sent me a photo down where she lives in South Carolina at Kroger, and the wine aisle looked very, very bare to the bone. So
Yeah. Kindergartners take their milk break while the parents take their wine break.
yes.
Wine and toilet paper or there's a shortage for those 2 items.
Yeah.
Let's see. Good morning, Sheriff Bouchard. I see that you've joined us.
Morning, how are you?
Good, how are you? Will you be joining us with video as well, or just audio? Just checking. Hello? Let's see. We'll see if we can get Sheriff Bouchard back. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. We're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. Can everyone hear me okay? Everyone can see me? We're going to be doing some screen sharing. I've never shared my screen, but I'm going to do it this morning, so bear with me if we have any technical difficulties. My name is Kelly Bennett. I'm the Marketing and Event Manager at the Birmingham Bloomfield Chamber. Looks like we lost Sheriff Bouchard for a second, so we'll wait for him to get signed back on. Was here and then I lost him, so I hope everyone's doing well. While we wait, we can go around and introduce ourselves if that works. I think we have if you just give your name and company, we can do that, and I'll go around my screen. Megan, you were our first one on, so we'll start with you.
Good morning, everyone. Megan Dennis from the Oakland Mediation Center. Did you want me to share anything else?
We're happy to have you here. In the interest of time, let's just do name and company, and hopefully by the time we're done, Sheriff Bouchard will be back. Link, you're next on my screen. Welcome this morning.
Yeah, I'm Link Walkler, Link Jewelry Designs. I'm sitting here in my studio, which is the easiest and most peaceful spot for me to be in the house. And this is where I do all my designing, right here. Thanks.
Great. Samantha.
Hi everyone, I'm Samantha. I'm the Membership Engagement Manager for the Birmingham Bloomfield Chamber.
Welcome. Ellen Mahoney. Good morning. Oh, hold on, you're muted. Let's see if I can get you.
Good morning.
Hi.
I'm Ellen Mahoney. I own Remix Commercial Connection. We're an exclusive commercial real estate brokerage in Ferndale.
Good to have you here this morning. Annie Van Gelden, you're next on my screen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the president of the Birmingham Bloomfield Arts Center, and we're getting geared up to let adults come back to the building starting next week.
That's exciting news. Ingrid. Good morning.
Morning, everyone. My name is Ingrid Ty. I'm the Executive Director of the Birmingham Shopping District. And Annie, congratulations. That's good news.
All right. And Vera, I see you on. Good morning. If
Hi.
you feel
Good morning, Kelly. How are you? How's everybody?
good, thank you.
I'm with Big Rock Chop House in Birmingham.
Yeah, let's see. Kimberly Adamsick, I hope I pronounced that right. If you could introduce yourself real quick. Let's see. Okay, maybe we lost her for a minute too. Ashley, good morning. I see you signed on. We're just doing name and company real quick. We had Sheriff Bouchard on and he, I think, lost connection. So we're waiting for him to come back on.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashley Bergmeister. I'm the Director of Business Development at Chief Financial Credit Union, and we just opened a branch in Birmingham. So pleasure to see you all this morning. I see.
Welcome. And we did get a chat message from Kim. She does not have a mic. She's from Geico Sourcing. Geico Sourcing hosted a member coffee for us at I think last fall. And they have a beautiful facility and they do promotional products. So thank you, Kim, for joining us. We're still waiting for Sheriff Bouchard to come back on. I've been emailing with his staff person. He was on and I think lost a connection. So we're gonna wait it out for the time being. We will be discussing de-escalation techniques and what the county's doing to support the community during this time of global pandemic, a once in a lifetime thing. I will just, oh, Cheryl, we didn't introduce Cheryl yet from our staff. I just looked over, you're on the other side of my screen.
Oh, good morning, everybody. I'm Cheryl Geralds. I'm the operations manager with the chamber. I've been there for 9 years or so. Thanks for coming this morning.
Thank you. Yeah, so right now at the chamber, we've been doing weekly webinars. We've kind of moved away from doing them weekly. We're doing them more like a couple times a month. And we hope that you'll continue to join us. We did have an in-person member coffee last week and that went wonderfully. So we're planning another one for this month. Just working on the paperwork with the city of Birmingham. We're gonna have it back at the Springdale Park because it was so nice. Very easy to socially distance. I was really proud of our members. They all wore masks the whole time. So we'll be doing that. And we also have a golf outing coming up. So we hope you'll join us on the course, September 29th. Chief Financial Credit Union is our presenting sponsor, represented by Ashley, who's on right now. And we have Sheriff Bouchard back. So let's get him connected to audio and maybe video too. And then we can get rolling with our presentation. So let's see. Sheriff Bouchard, there you are. Good morning.
All right, I don't know if it was me or you. I rebooted and restarted everything just in case it was on our technological end.
Yeah, that
Good
happens.
morning and welcome back.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll go ahead and jump into the presentation if that's okay with you.
Sure.
I do have a quick introduction I can read. It's Sheriff Michael Bouchard runs one of the nation's largest sheriff's offices, overseeing 1,400 employees and managing an annual budget of over $163 million. He brings the experience of 34 years of law enforcement and 34 years as an elected official to the position. Welcome. We're thrilled to have you join us today.
Hey, happy to be here. So it's my understanding the topic you want to talk about is obviously from a lot of merchants' standpoint is de-escalation.
Yes, and I do have a presentation that your office sent over, so I will begin sharing my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
I can.
Are we good?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so yeah, go ahead. We will.
Yeah, so obviously with COVID and in general, just, when you have someone in the store or in your office or your workplace that isn't happy with, maybe what's going on, they're being asked to do or the service or whatever the case may be, it's both a technique and a goal. It's an outcome that you seek, and that's de-escalation. We teach that to all of our folks on so many different levels, and you think of it as a way to diffuse the situation, kind of slow it down, to bring the temperature down. For us, we try to increase time and distance as well, so it gives us the flexibility to assess what's happening, to try to bring the person into a calmer state, to try to resolve any issues verbally, preventing it from escalating. And now with merchants in the position of having to enforce a mask order, as an example, some people don't like it, don't appreciate it, and then they take their feelings out on the clerk or whoever may be asking them to do that. And so basically, if they say they have a medical condition, obviously you have to, under the law, provide them with a reasonable accommodation. So, that obviously means different things for different businesses. But let's say it's a store, a small boutique store, you can afford them the opportunity to have stuff brought to them or out to them to look at, or come up with some arrangement you think that works. But you are in control of your own property, obviously. As a private business, you are a private property owner and a private entity, and as such, you get to make a determination under that process if somebody is allowed to stay, or if they're causing a problem and trespassing. And that's where a lot of police agencies have come to situations where situations have escalated, whether it's because of the mask or just maybe an unsatisfied customer, and to try to resolve that. But obviously, the way to approach it is you approach it calmly. You try to maintain, again, a safe distance, a reactionary distance is what we call it. You de-escalate by introducing yourself by name. Hi, I'm Mike. I understand you're upset. How can we, work to resolve whatever's going on today, kind of thing. Establish that you're compassionate, you understand where they're coming from, and that you're there to solve a problem, because you want to have them come down and realize you're trying to help them through whatever moment in time they're having, or whatever issue they're having, help them resolve that. And then there's psychological factors that go into it. Sometimes you have what we call an EDP, an emotionally disturbed person, but that's separate and aside from whatever has caused this situation. So, what you try to do is be quiet, quieter than the person, certainly, that typically elevates their voice tone, their posture. You try to have a calming posture, but again, with some distance. You actually try to reduce the amount of this, hand gestures, because it's distracting and draws attention to physical activity. So try to be calm, almost like the yoga instructor, Namaste. You try to be calm. How can we help? How can we walk through that? You try to bring the temperature down. You try to explain the process. And before you enter into that, kind of relax yourself too. Take a breath, calm yourself down, reassure yourself you're going to walk through this, and you're going to help them through it. And you're going to make sure that, this has a quiet and a positive outcome for everybody. But again, distance is your friend. And even if you have a barrier, physical barrier, maybe stay behind the counter rather than getting right up next to them. That gives you, again, a little more reactionary space. But if you don't have a physical barrier, make sure you keep a little physical separation. Not so much you have to yell, but enough that, you're back and not in their personal space, which tends to oftentimes escalate things. And then you try to respond to questions or concerns in kind of a neutral tone, so it's not offensive, and you offer them suggestions. Well, how else might we help you? What else can we do for you? Things like that. So they're open-ended questions, and it makes them slow down a bit, because then they have to think about what the answer might be, and they can work through it. And those kinds of things are helpful as you work through it. And pausing the situation allows you to then re-engage them on an intellectual and not an emotional or an activated state. So, some of the things that we also suggest, that you be honest with them. If you can't fulfill their request for whatever reason, say, geez, I'm really sorry, we can't accommodate that, or we don't have that in stock. If you want to leave your name and number, we'll do our best to get back to you. But, try to be honest with them to the extent that you can, and reassuring on that front. Now, separate and aside from those scenarios, we also suggest that you have, as a business, a plan that relates to all threats, all hazards. We've taught a lot of businesses about active shooters or active threats, but you should have a plan for each business, whether it's a disgruntled person for whatever reason, whether it's COVID or whether it's a unsatisfied person about products or services, whether it's an active threat, maybe the active threat's down the street. All of those things should trigger a plan that you know what to do and your employees know what to do, where to go, how to react, what doors to lock, where the exits are, where is a safe barrier. There's a difference between cover and concealment. Cover means it actually protects you from, let's say, a bullet. Concealment just hides you. So for example, if you're hiding behind a clothes rack, that's concealment, but a bullet can go right through the clothes. If you're hiding behind a brick wall, that's cover and concealment. So think some of those things through, but develop a plan based on your own business's unique size, employees, services, and products, etc., so that people know if we say this word, it triggers this reaction by the employees, where to go, what to do, who to notify, how to be safe. And practice occasionally, before you open or after you close with your employees, just so that they feel not only a better understanding of what they should do, but they feel that you're taking the time to explain it to them because you care about their safety, regardless of the issue. So that's kind of an emergency action plan, again, for all kinds of threats, whether it's, again, an active shooter, a threat, fire, tornado, different kinds of things. Now, if it was an active shooter, we teach what's called run, hide, and fight, which means that if you can get away from it, get away from it. If you can't, obviously, let's say, for example, in a school, and you're a teacher and you've got 15 to 20 kindergartners, you can't run because they're not going to keep up with you, and it's just probably not going to happen. So typically what they're taught is how they are best equipped to hide, what kinds of things they do to protect themselves in that environment, to kind of barricade that Alamo, if you will, moment. And then if all else fails, if somebody breaches that place where you've hidden, that's when it goes to fight. And whatever that embodies is up to you and what you're capable of doing based on what you have and what you're willing to do. But you're allowed, if somebody is threatening your life or someone else, to defend yourself up to and including deadly force. So that's as it relates to kind of an active threat within the business place. Now, as you talk about OSHA's guidance, they actually have a general duty clause in the OSHA law, the workplace regulatory body, if you will, that falls under the kind of broad parameters of you have to provide a safe working environment for your folks, and you have to mitigate certain risk factors. And that includes the contact with the public and how they are put in that position, how they are asked or required to handle money or deliver goods and services. Obviously now there's an extra layer when you're talking in contact with the public and either delivering goods or services as it relates to PPE and other kinds of equipment or procedures that they should have in place, how they work in small numbers or working alone late at night, what things have you put into place to help protect them. And think about cameras too. If you have camera systems in place, what do they cover? And are they high enough quality where you actually can see something that's usable? We actually had a homicide caught on video, but the video was so poor, you couldn't really tell the color of the car, the kind of car, or the license plate on the car when it occurred. So if you're going to take the time and effort to put in cameras, test them and make sure that they're high enough quality so that they can capture what would be helpful for any situation that you might need, either internal for liability or for a criminal investigation. And as you move into, again, going back to part of the focus on this is the crisis cycle. So first there's a trigger of the crisis. Something's happening and it's escalating. And then as that escalation happens, you enter what's called a crisis stage. Now it's acute. Now it's really going on. That's the moment in time where de-escalation takes kind of root, and you take some of these steps that we've talked about to begin to lower that temperature. You get it stabilized. Everybody gets to take a breath, and now you're post-crisis. You work on the conflict at hand. But at any point, if you feel concerned or unsafe, certainly call the police. We're used to responding to all kinds of situations, and I'm sure Birmingham police that covers the chamber area does the same thing and does it well on a regular basis. So don't be afraid. We'd rather respond to 100 nothings than miss one real important moment and not be there to help calm things or de-escalate or save a life. So don't be afraid to call, I guess, is an important thing to do. And then understand too that scale can go up and down. Sometimes when we find ourselves in situations, we see, it escalates from the trigger to the escalation, then we move into de-escalation, and then it stabilizes, and then something sets that person off again, and we go back into the crisis. So there may be a little bit of a roller coaster, and just be kind of prepared for that and understand where you are in that moment in time, whether you're at the crisis, the de-escalation, the stabilization, or where you are in that process, so you can begin to take the steps to move it again to resolution, which is where you're trying to go as it relates to the needs. Because what you're trying to do really is address the needs of that person in their mind as they stand before you angry, whatever those needs may be. Maybe it's attention, maybe it's the anxiety of our times, and you just happen to be the outlet, right? We have so many more attempted suicides, domestics, and different things these days. And it's really, I think, symptomatic, not causal. And by that, I mean, it's kind of a lashing out because of how people are thinking or feeling, and they choose a target, and your business or your employee or that clerk may be that target, not necessarily, what actually brought everything to head was a combination of days or even months leading up to it. And now you're the focal point for that. I can't take it anymore. And that's where we have to kind of understand it, calm it, bring it down, and try to get some resolution. So the other thing, don't put yourself at physical risk. We teach our deputies that, in certain situations, you may have the right to act, but you don't necessarily have to do something in every situation. It may require a different moment, a different thing to calm people down. So if it typically would be getting a ticket, maybe in that moment, a ticket really doesn't help the person. Tickets, in my opinion, are supposed to change behavior, but if they're in a crisis about the totality of their life, and maybe they were then speeding because they were so wound up and not paying attention, that may not be the best solution either to the behavior or the moment. And so you kind of analyze that as you go to determine what's going on with this person and how we can resolve that moment. And the communication skills are important. Now, obviously, in business, you understand it. If you're selling a product, a service, or any kind of activity in the business world, you have to be able to communicate and be articulate and be persuasive. And the same thing applies to, a situation where you have somebody who's angry, upset, for, again, whatever reason. Use those same skill sets to bring them down, to de-escalate. But again, don't be afraid to call. We respond to all complaints where a dispute is actively in process to make sure that it doesn't escalate. And, that's important to know that, the officers will come and they'll help to calm that moment. I know I'm running through a lot of kind of material. Does anybody have any questions so far? I saw somebody raise their hand, but I'm not sure if they were just trying to poke my eye.
Does anybody have any questions for the sheriff? No questions? I wanted to make a note of something that you mentioned at the very beginning of the presentation, just by introducing yourself as a store owner. I know there's been this story going around on social media that I've seen where someone goes into a shop without wearing a mask, and the store clerk says, "I'm sorry, could you please put your mask on?" And the person who entered looks around and says, "Why? There's no one in here." And the clerk is like, "Well, I'm in here." So I think putting a face
Right.
to the name and a name to the face, and making sure people realize like you're human, you're there to do a job, and you want to make sure everyone, including yourself, is safe as possible. And I think just the simple fact of introducing yourself maybe helps with that. I thought that was a really good point and something that I hadn't really thought of before. So
Yeah, and that goes to what I said at the beginning. Introduce yourself, personalize it. Hi, I'm Mike. And you know, I didn't make these rules. You know, this is an order to businesses. We have to do this. Even if it's just you and I in the store, we're told that if someone comes in the store, they have to have a mask on. And, you know, so if we could do that, then I'd be, you know, really excited to help you with whatever, you know, you're looking for or you need today. And that way kind of deflects, you know, you're not the one saying, I'm going to make you wear the mask. This is a rule that is on all of us. And I'm, you know, as the person in the store or a person in the business, this is a rule we have to comply with as a business. And so therefore, that's why we're asking you. And we're both here as people. We can work through this. Very good point.
I have a question. So at what point is, you know, you've been going back and forth with a customer, or in our case, a member, and they're just, you know, it seems that anything you say or do kind of almost angers them more. And you've realized that it's not necessarily about, you know, them not wearing a mask in our lobby or something. You can tell it's something outside and they're just taking out their frustrations on you. So in that situation, how do you know when you've reached that point, and then what do you do at that point?
Well, you know, at that point, say, look, I'm very sorry you feel that way. I understand that, but we as a business have been given this mandate, and they'll take, the state will take action against our business if we don't follow it. So we don't have a choice in this. If we can't, you know, work together to get through this moment and help you get done what you need to get done following that rule, then, you know, we're going to have to ask you to leave. And at that point, they become a trespasser. Now, that's a separate and aside from everything else, and they will be removed by any responding police agency as a trespasser if they refuse to accept that guidance.
I think that's a really good point, pointing out that it's, you know, we can get fined for this. We're trying to avoid that. And these fines are huge too. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
any other questions for Sheriff Bouchard? Sheriff, I know we also talked about things you're doing with the county. Do you have a partnership with Oakland County executive offices to work with them and what they're doing? I know they've released a lot of information and grants and business support. Could you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, we partner very closely with the executive office and actually all other offices within the county government. Obviously, we're the most forward-facing. We're the largest part of the county government, the biggest of any executive or clerk or whatever, simply because our size and reach. And as a result, you know, we end up, you know, communicating quite a bit with them to make sure that if they have resources or connectivity to certain things, that we can bridge that gap, if you will. We can be the conduit to maybe the health department resources or business resources as it relates to, you know, the payroll protection or those kinds of things that may fall under different parts of county government. We try to connect those dots. So I work closely with all of the different parts of the county. I was at a ribbon cutting yesterday with the executive.
Wonderful. Well, as a chamber, we love ribbon cutting, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, we love those too. You know, if you guys aren't doing well, the whole community's not doing well, and that floats all boats. When the economy's well, business is doing well, especially small business. That's what, you know, drives Michigan forward.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Well, we appreciate your support and for joining us today. If there are no further questions, I would like to just thank you all for coming. Oh, Link, did you have a question?
Yeah, just a quick one. Just as an example, there's a party store near me that, you know, I would put a mask on to go in, and I'm not taking one side or the other, but I know we're supposed to be wearing the masks, you know, going into a store.
Right.
And nobody working there wears one. And most people going in don't wear one. It's kind of a community place where you know, like Cheers, like people know each other real well, but they just go in there and nobody wears one. You know, you almost feel like the odd man out when you do go in wearing one. There's no sign or anything. And are you running into any situations like that? Because this was kind of a place that, you know, the community often frequents.
Yeah, I mean, we have things all across the board.
Yeah.
Complaints, you know, that are founded, and most of which, frankly, are unfounded. We about 92% of the calls that we respond to are unfounded. Maybe they're a family member or a relative, or you know, they don't need to mask or whatever the mandate is. You know, some of them they just didn't understand or realize. You know, we have had more orders both on the state and the county level than any other state in the 5 surrounding states. So lots of people we have found have actually quit reading the newspaper and turned off the news. So they don't know what the order of the day is.
Well, they know because they've got the TV on in their place all the time. And I'm you know, I don't want to say anything because he's a good jewelry customer of mine as well.
Right.
So I don't want to blow that.
Yeah. So, you know, then it's obviously a touchy situation. You know, we respond to complaints, and wherever this business is, my imagination would that the local police would respond to that. Some agencies don't. Detroit doesn't respond to complaints. They refer it to the health department. Macomb County refers it to the state. We respond to 100% of calls, but because we don't want to see it escalate. If somebody calls, then obviously it's risen to that point. We want to send a deputy to make sure things are calm and not just say call the state number. So, you know, if you don't want to make a complaint, that it's kind of hard to
choose your battles.
Yeah, well, it's one of those worlds where there's so many battles going on. You do pick.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
If you're uncomfortable, you know, there's other stores, obviously.
Yeah.
But some people are making that choice, you know, based on their patronage.
Oh, okay. It's just hard to hold my breath for 2 minutes.
No, I get you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Link. Does anyone else have questions for Sheriff Bouchard? Well, on behalf of the Chamber, I want to thank you for joining us and for your support. You do a wonderful job in Oakland County, and we're happy to have you here and for joining us today. Thank you for your time.
Always available. We got a great team, and we're happy to help.
Thank you.
Good luck with the election.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, my wife wants to keep me employed.
Oh, yeah. Tell Pam Link says hello.
I will.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
We would like to invite you all to our golf outing, and stay tuned for more information on upcoming webinars and chamber events. Thank you all for joining us this morning. I hope you were able to learn a little bit. I know I picked up some good tips from the sheriff, so we thank the department again for participating. And thank you all for joining us. With that, we'll wrap it up.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ingrid.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.